Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. It is time for us to wake the fuck up. I am here with the awesome Stacey Casey,
Hello, hello, hello.
and today I had something happen at work. Well, it didn't happen, but it was a conversation that I was part of, and it sort of triggered me in a really big way. And so I got to thinking about sovereignty. And it honestly felt like a natural build from the types of things that we've been talking about following our inner compass and stuff like that. And so, the next question for me was okay, so what happens when you actually start living according to your own truth instead of someone else's expectations? And so I'm just going to give some background about what it actually was that happened. And there was a conversation. A coworker of mine has a niece who had been living with her mother, so the niece's grandmother. The grandmother passed, and so the niece was basically displaced. She's just 23 years old, and so my coworker took her in and moved her into the basement. So this girl doesn't like to shave her legs, which, whatever, to each his own. And my coworker actually said that she would not allow her niece to come upstairs in shorts in her house
Which
because,
is so bizarre. Like, why? I, I know I'm going to let you finish, but it's like, how could you do that to someone?
well, especially in the middle of summer. But it was just that what she said is because nobody wants to see that. And first of all, that's just your opinion. There are so many women who have chosen over the last, I'm going to say, 10 to 15 years to stop shaving not only their legs but their armpits. It's not for me. I feel better when I have smooth skin.
Me too.
I don't like that for me
Right.
personally, but I couldn't give two shits
Right.
about
I
somebody
mean,
else.
why does it bother her so much that she cannot wear shorts in the house? Number one, like, that's stupid. No one's seeing her. And then number two, why is she so bothered?
Well, and even if people were seeing her, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
This 23-year-old girl should not have to shave her legs because her not doing so makes somebody else uncomfortable. What the fuck? And
Ugh.
I just want to say this is not an episode about shaving your legs, clearly. It's about
Right.
who believes that they have the authority to govern another human being. I mean, especially to that degree.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And I mean, it triggered me in a huge way. I didn't say anything. I just sat there quietly listening to what she was, you know, going on about. But I just thought, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, what is sovereignty? It's self governance. It is the right to choose and taking responsibility for our own lives and being able to live from our own values instead of inherited expectations or, just what expectations of anybody outside of ourselves, period. Sovereignty isn't rebellion, it's ownership. It's being able to say, this is my life, this is my body. And I mean, obviously this is a much much bigger conversation than just shaving your fucking legs, because there's the whole abortion thing and all of that. And it's like, just who gives someone else the authority to say what I can and cannot do with my own body or my beliefs? You're like,
Right.
I don't hold I don't care what anybody believes, like religion, or you can be a Christian, you can believe in Jesus, you can blah blah blah, fill in the blanks, but that does not give you the right to impose those beliefs on me.
Preach it, sister. Hi,
Seriously.
seriously, that like irks it irks the fuck out of me when people start doing shit like that.
Yes.
Especially in the spiritual world too, because they just assume that's how you feel, because if you're not religious and you're not an atheist, then it should be one way thinking in the spiritual world, and that's not the case. That's not the case at all, because just because you believe in it does not mean that, and if you feel so strongly about it, that you should not try to persuade other people into your group, right?
Yes. Absolutely. And unfortunately, because we have never been taught to really stand up for ourselves, we never were taught to well, we were basically taught to kind of fade into the background. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, especially with like trying to fit in. I mean, that shit starts really early in the
yes.
programming of how we raise our children, or if you want to get along with others in school, like that programming starts like super young,
Yeah.
trying
Yes.
to fit in. And then as we grow older, we still have this old programming that we're still running on. And then you get to an age and you're like, all right, let's say we're 55. Like, you get to 55 and you're like, holy shit, that was like a false narrative all these years that I believed in
Yep.
that wasn't true.
Yep.
And then you come to realize, oh my God, what else did I not, you know, da da da.
Right.
And then in this case, it's like, if I would have went against the grain, or if I would have just said from day one, I'm only going to pick what I want to believe in.
There are so many subtle ways that we surrender our sovereignty without even knowing about it. Like, because we want approval, or we have this fear of disappointing people, or like somebody taught us something some way, and so it's just like, well, that's just how it's done, right?
Right.
Or there are family expectations, cultural conditioning, you've got religion, politics, gender roles, beauty standards, all that bullshit that kind of puts our life on autopilot, because we sort of kind of fall into this groove about certain things like that, because that's how it's always been done or whatever. So, and I think that, because the body belongs to the person living in it, that goes to hair, whether you want to shave or not, if you want tattoos or piercings, or
Yes.
the kind of clothing you want to wear, whether you wear makeup or not. The question is never whether I like what somebody else is doing. The question really is, whose body is it?
Right.
So another thing that actually happened before this conversation at work was it caused me to create an image and post something on Facebook that said, "Let them eat the cake," and it was a friend who is caring for an elderly mother, and the elderly mother has COPD, but she was a smoker and had switched from smoking to vaping, which, whatever. I mean, I don't know that that's any better, but at the end of the day, it's her lungs, it's her life. And there was a conversation about absolutely do not let her have her vape. And I'm not going to lie, it pissed me off. It is not your place to say that your mother cannot have this thing that she gains pleasure from. It's her fucking life. It's her life. So, our preference should never equate to control over somebody else. Now, granted, I understand that there are always exceptions. I get that. You know,
Right.
somebody may not have the mental capacity to properly choose for themselves or whatever. I get that. There are always exceptions. But in the general scheme of things, you know, you saying I don't like hairy legs, that's perfectly valid. You're entitled to say that. But to
Right.
say to her you aren't allowed to have hairy legs, or if you choose to keep those hairy legs, you aren't allowed to show them in my presence, that's control.
That is so control. Like, what the F?
Yeah.
Ugh, people.
Yes. And, you know, confusing our personal preferences with universal truth is just, it's bullshit. And I think it really comes down to, you know, how do you love without ownership?
Oh, that's
Because
a big one for people.
it is, because real love doesn't require someone to become a version that's easier for you to tolerate.
Right. It should be unconditional love.
Yeah, and I understand.
Without judgment.
Right. I get it that that's not really easy, but, you know, you can disagree with somebody's choices without believing that you own the right to make them on their behalf.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean,
I can definitely see how a lot of people out there would be listening and be like, oh, yeah, I totally agree with this.
yeah, but I also got that pushback from my Facebook post when I posted that about let them eat the damn cake, because there were a lot of people that said, well, you know, you if you have to be there to deal with the fallout of those decisions or whatever, and I get it, you know, but a boundary governs me. You know, that's me. My boundaries governs me, but control is somebody else governing you. So,
Right.
you know, you can say I'm not going to participate in this conversation. I'm leaving the conversation. Or, you know, somebody asks to borrow money. I'm not lending money. Or they ask you to do fill in the blank, whatever it is. You can say I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to choose not to, you know. But
Someone recently said that true sovereignty is internal, which is so true.
yeah,
And it's the power struggle, you know, like how do you want to like go about and to, I guess, govern that part of yourself.
right, without allowing other people's expectations or um, you know, whatever you want, however you want to say that, without allowing somebody else's feelings about what you're doing to affect your choice. Because anybody can say, you know, this thing makes me uncomfortable. Fine. That's great, but it doesn't give you the right to come in and say you're not allowed to, or you have to, or you can't. You know, it's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
So, uh, sovereignty, it does require responsibility, because it's not saying that it's permission to do whatever we want, right? Freedom and responsibility, I think, are inseparable. But if I'm sovereign, I own my choices and my consequences. I own my healing. I own my finances, my words, my reactions, right? No blaming, no victimhood. I'm taking full responsibility for what I'm doing in my life. But I think that other people try to control us because there's fear or discomfort or a need to be right. Oh my God, that one is huge.
Right.
Or they need something to be set in stone, right? They have a need for certainty, or they have anxiety about something. So if I can make you conform, I don't have to examine why your freedom bothers me.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I just think.
Or when we look at where we give our power away, some of the just like little examples I was thinking about is when we're seeking everybody else's approval,
Mm-hmm.
we're giving that power to somebody else.
100%. Yes.
100%. Constantly comparing yourself to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing money to dictate your self-worth.
Oh God, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Like, just right there. Like, holy moly.
Yep.
Living from guilt instead of by choice.
Also huge. That one is really truly a massive thing, and unfortunately I think it is way more common than what we would imagine.
Another little tidbit that I was thinking of, and nowadays, like, people would really have to like listen to this one and like lean in, but letting social media determine your worth.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How many likes, follows?
How many? Where do people like really freak out? I mean, super freak out, lose their shit over if they didn't get the right comment, or it didn't go viral, or it hasn't, or what their other people's perspective of how you feel on social media as you're like putting it out onto these platforms.
Yep.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Well, in the way I feel about that, I think that it really comes down to trust. So I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One, because I really just enjoy it. I love having these conversations. I think they're always expansive and, they're fun, but not always fun, because I think
Right.
There's a lot of shit to think about that gets generated as we're having these conversations. But I do it because I trust that whoever is meant to hear the conversation is going to come to it whenever. I feel that the universe will bring this information to whoever needs to hear it whenever they're meant to hear it. I don't ever look even at how many downloads we get or any of that stuff. I don't care. I put it out there because I trust that it's going to reach whoever it's supposed to reach, period.
And that's like a good nugget, because I'm the one that is like, who is it reaching? Like, I want to know like who we're impacting, but also having the perspective, like Lori said, who gives a shit? Like, it's gonna land for Sally Joe or Steven or Frank, wherever they are in the world, wherever they're listening to.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I'm not talking just to hear myself talk. I'm talking because I feel that there's value in sharing
what we have to say and what I feel like other people out there have these aha moments, or they have these struggles and they are really kind of like going through it. So it's nice for us to like chat about it and bring another different point of view into the conversation.
Sure, and I think too that if it gives one person food for thought that can propel them forward on their path, then I've done my job. We've done our job. It doesn't matter to me if we have, millions of followers or whatever. If we reach that one person, then that's it. And I think that having a conversation like this that gives the people listening the how do I want to say this? That gives them the thought even to sit with the questions like, where have you handed away your authority? Or who are you still trying to get permission from? Where are you trying to control someone else's path? Or what would your life look like if you actually trusted yourself? To sit with questions like that can be the impetus to allow them to move forward in a more powerful, empowered way. That's what this is all about.
Right.
And to stop giving away their power to other people. Like this girl with the unshaven legs, she did not cave and shave because her aunt told her that.
Good for her.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, I guess a couple days afterwards, she was getting ready to go somewhere with a friend of hers, and she came up the stairs to leave the house, and
yeah,
she was in shorts with her unshaven legs, and I was like, you go, girl.
More power to her.
Yes, absolutely. It, like I said, it's not a choice I would make for myself, but who cares?
Right.
It's my choice to shave my legs because I like the way that it feels. And she has every right not to shave hers because what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Some people.
I know. And I think that if people really, it's almost like there's a disconnect. We have a disconnect with ourselves because I think that the moment you stop trying to control other people is often the same moment that you will finally reclaim yourself, right? Sovereignty isn't about getting everyone else to approve of your choices. It's about becoming the authority in your own life while extending that same freedom to everyone else. And I think that a lot of people try to control other people because they maybe feel out of control in their own lives, or maybe they just have to control everything because that's the nature of their personality or whatever. But I think that it just gives them something to think about.
Yes.
So what else do you think about this? Any other situations that you can think of where you've given away your own sovereignty or
Mine is just like staying in a relationship because of fear. Or and staying in a relationship because of fear, it would be more like a friendship. I had a relationship for 20 some odd years, and I was ready to dip. And I feel like the relationship has like went up and down, up and down. But in the same sense, that person has became family to me, and we have holidays and things together. But what would it look like? And this person has said some things. We've said things on both sides. My side and hers. But for the longest time, I let her kind of like dictate how I felt. And whatever she said had weight to it. Like it was in gold. And literally, I woke up finally and I was like, I don't feel like that. And I'm not going to let her not walk all over me, but like have such a strong influence over me. And throughout the years, I've kind of like tiptoed around this conversation with her because she's just the kind of person that if she were to ever, um, if she were to ever like really hear what I had to say, I don't think she would be happy with it. And I don't think she would take it as constructive criticism. Like, I think she would be really hurt, and then she would be like, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe you have done this in our friendship all these years. And I just kind of, fade into the background with how I feel. Like, I'll talk up on a lot of things, but if she's like being very like overly judgmental or like overly aggressive in a conversation, then I let her kind of take the reins and I let her have an influence over what I think and what I feel.
Mm.
And it's kind of like shitty because I'm like about 7 or 8 years ago, I came to the realization like how much I seeked her approval and how much what would my life look like if we weren't friends. And I just kind of like started taking that power back for myself because our friendship started in middle school. And in middle school, it was all about fitting in and just kind of going with the crowd. And you didn't want to dare be the person to have your own voice, or I mean, especially back then in the 90s, and because that wasn't cool, or you were going to be outcasted and you weren't going to have any friends. And holy crap, did that like morph into something as we got older too.
Well, I think that it's fantastic that you recognize that you were doing that, but I think the bigger question to ask yourself is why? What is it about her that makes you value her beliefs and opinions over your own?
That's a good question. That's a deep question.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think it's one that is worth asking and getting to the bottom of, because I think if the conversation was dealt with in the right way, that she would understand that you simply valued her opinion to a degree that wasn't healthy for you, that you put your own beliefs and opinions beneath hers. And I think if you had the conversation and discussed it that way, um, she might actually ask you why. And
Yeah, she probably would. She probably would ask me like, why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you think that her belief is superior to mine? And it's the pushback from her. I don't know.
oh,
It's very like intertwined.
mm, So maybe it just you don't feel as confident in your own opinion because of that pushback. Maybe it makes
Yeah.
you feel, I don't know,
Makes me
less
feel kind of
intelligent
like,
or
right.
yeah, she's
And it kind of,
intimidating.
right. And it trickles into like every kind of nook and cranny into our friendship. And it's very bizarre how it has gotten to this point. I mean, we're married, we both have kids, and we still see each other and we still have conversations, but I don't know. If
Yeah.
I met her at this point in my life, I don't know if I would be friends with her.
Well, honestly, it sounds like you wouldn't.
Knowing what I know now,
Right.
right?
Yeah, but I think too that the fact that you had the realization that that was happening in the first place says a lot about where you are now in your own sovereignty, and getting to know yourself better and your own beliefs, and actually honoring those beliefs and those thoughts and feelings, and understanding that hers aren't better than yours.
Right.
Yours belong to you.
And then having that realization, like, holy shit, like, I can't believe I've been doing this. Like, basically, a good chunk of my life, right? And just, I can't believe I let myself like give so much of my power away to someone else and let them have stock over my belief system or how I think about stuff or feeling meek where I couldn't speak my mind because in fear of retaliation or
Mm.
um what which is a big one because she can be an aggressor. I love her dearly. We've been through the thick and folds, and we stopped talking to each other for a couple of, I think, years. And then we kind of like came back together. But it's been a really interesting ride. And then having these, like, when sovereignty came up, and then that's what I was thinking of. And I'm like, wow, wow.
Yeah, it is definitely a big deal to really look at how that plays into our everyday life, and even the things that we're taught as children, like my religious beliefs, if you will, how my father's beliefs colored my own, and then the backlash when I had the realization that I'm not in alignment with this. I don't buy into any of this bullshit. I don't. You can keep your book. I don't believe it, and
Right.
it doesn't. It never did. It never felt accurate and true to me. And when I started exploring my own beliefs, and then I finally came to uh, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. When I read that book, I literally sat there and just sobbed and nodded my head like, oh my God, somebody else actually believes the way that I do. And it was crazy. But my dad was just not happy at all that I didn't believe in heaven and hell and judgment and all of that. I still to this day I don't. And I'm entitled to believe however I want. And and that's where, the sovereignty, that's what it's all about. It's about taking responsibility for your own life and your own beliefs, and living from that space honestly and authentically, and not giving two shits what anybody else thinks about your beliefs, because they're not theirs. they're yours.
Right.
Yeah, the fallout with my dad, because it was the stupidest thing. You know, I wrote that little book that's more like
Yeah.
a pamphlet, but in the beginning of that, Manifesting Magnificence, I said that I give thanks to the source within me. And I specifically said it that way because I am somebody who believes in inclusivity. I want everybody to feel included. I don't try to exclude people ever. And so, I know that some people don't believe in a higher power at all, and other people it is Allah or Buddha or Yahweh or whatever. And so I just said it that way. And because I did that, and I didn't specifically say God, he told me that not only did he believe that I was on a path to hell, but that I was essentially on the fast track. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, did you even read the book? The book is about being grateful for what you already have. It's about holding the vision for the life that you're trying to create. And I was like, if me telling people to be grateful for what they already have is me on a path to hell, on the fast track to hell, then you and I are further apart than I ever thought possible.
Right.
But I didn't.
Because they're so, like, programmed into thinking that their way is superior.
Yes, absolutely. And, we don't become sovereign by dominating others. We become sovereign by no longer needing to. So stay in your own fucking lane.
That's true.
Let me live my life the way I choose and hold the beliefs that I choose to believe. And if I want to fucking
still... Right. I'm going to take it.
Yes. I'm sorry.
I can understand because of, like, health concerns that person would be like, oh, I don't want them to have the vape because of X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I get that. Yep. But there has to become a separation between the human and the relationship. Because when the shoe is on the other side of the foot and they're older or they are in a mental health crisis, or I don't care what it is, and they want their vape, or if they want whatever brings comfort to them, as long as it's not harming them. Yes, I get vaping can be harming, and it could further your
deterioration.
Deterioration and your disease. But at the end of the day, if that makes them happy, then just let them fucking do it.
And that's kind of my point. While I understand that there are always going to be things like that, like, well, I don't want them to do this because it's harming them physically. Listen, if they have the mental capacity to make that fucking choice, then they have the right to make that fucking choice. You do not get to say. You should never.
Right.
You should. I just. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, that there was some of the pushback about that was, yeah, but if you have to deal with the fallout of that, well, guess what? Technically, you don't have to do shit. You are choosing to deal with the fallout. You are choosing that for yourself. You do not have to do any of it. So if you're making that choice, that's on you. But they still should have the ability and the authority in their own fucking life to choose whatever they want. If they have the mental capacity to make that choice, then they should be able to make it. That's my opinion.
In that case, you could really see it. I mean, Yes, 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 yes.
I,
Another example I'll give you, social media, TikTok. There is a woman in Canada that had, gosh, I believe it was onset Alzheimer's, and she must been in her early 40s. And I was, if anyone followed this person, like, I literally just found her like a week ago. And so she came on my FYP, and she had to battle it out in court and battle it out um, for what her own right was, because in Canada you can have, here in the US there is a couple places that, a couple states that you can require a drug to help end your life. And so uh this disease has really brought a lot of physical pain upon herself, and she wanted to opt out. She's lived a awesome life, and she's done amazing things, and she was a mom, and she had kids, and they were pretty much grown, and she wanted to end things for herself. And she went through the court system, and she won her case, and she had a date. Then things got pushed back, and then she, and so it was the countdown, and she wanted the ability to say, hey, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to see how, for an example, if her dad passed of Alzheimer's. I don't know what the circumstances in her family was. But she had a date. She had friends and family that came. They grieved her. They mourned her. She mourned her own life. And she really wanted to say, I'm in control of this, and I want to be able to say when I can exit out of this life. And she took the drug, and she passed away yesterday at 1:15 in the afternoon.
wow.
But it was, to have control over her own life. She didn't want someone else saying that she couldn't die, and it had to be prolonged for another like 4 years or however long that this would have taken.
Right.
And it just really makes you see the impact of what people fight for their own health and their own um, decisions that they want to make. They don't want to. Some people say that, opting out of this life, that you're taking the easy way out. But in this case, it was a terminal disease. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
She didn't want to go through that pain and suffering. She didn't want to, like, not remember who the fuck she was. She didn't want to get. I mean, it was affecting her health in horrible ways and her memory. And she wanted to go out with dignity. And I think everybody needs that right.
Yep.
And
I agree.
who is it to. Why do we let other people say or try to control us? Hey, you have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to live for another 10 years. You have to live for another 5 years. Like,
Wow.
if you have um if you have a terminal disease, and it's very painful, and it takes away your memory and how you think and you feel, and someone else has to take care of you, then I think that's really sad.
Well, and that is the ultimate sovereignty, right? It's
Right.
having the ability to say, no, I'm done. I mean, and look at how many people do that and commit suicide. Just, not assisted suicide like something like that, but how many people just take their own lives just to be done with it because they just can't deal for whatever reason, or they don't want to be here for whatever reason. But how many times have I heard that is so selfish? They are so selfish to take their own life. What the fuck? You weren't in their body, you weren't in their head, you have no fucking clue what that person was dealing with mentally or whatever. How dare you say that? Because it's not about you.
Right. It's not about you. I can see the other side of the coin too. Like the other, it gets very dicey.
I have lost, I think at last count, it was 8 people to suicide.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. And I mean, the first one, I was only 13 years old. And I had somebody hang themselves in my backyard. And there is definitely a time in my life that I believed that it was an awful thing and that, I was angry about it. But when you really feel into, and I mean, even logically thinking about what that person had to be going through to reach that point, and let's just put it out there, this was not the first time that he had attempted this either. Things happened that obviously he wasn't able, it didn't work until it did. But if you're in and out of a mental institution and you struggle with depression, anxiety, whatever, you know, it's never about us. I mean, yes, it's very difficult for those of us who are left behind because, we struggle with.
We're picking up the pieces.
Yes, and we're struggling with the questions that will never be answered. Like, was there anything I could have done to help? Or, we always want to know and question in what way did we play a part, if any, and depending on the nature of the relationship that you had with the person, it can be, I mean, it's always devastating, right? But at the end of the day, it is not about us. It had nothing to do with us. It was them and what they were going through in their lives. And this woman having the courage to actually make a choice like that and set the date and then go through with it. And,
yes,
come on. I mean, that really is the ultimate sovereignty. And there's also, the thing about abortion and stuff like that, where, if you don't want an abortion, don't fucking get one. But you should never have the authority over somebody else's body. And it just, the people, these right to lifers and shit like that,
I could definitely go down
yeah.
a whole thing on that and how I think and feel.
Well, yes,
but
because,
totally off topic.
well, I mean, but it's not, because they're, a lot of them, their belief is that, well, you should even, and this is even, if somebody is impregnated through rape. I mean, it's like these people, these girls are expected to actually have that child go through that fucking pain and all of the mental anguish of knowing that this is a child that was brought into the world through this horrible means. And they're told, oh, well, have the baby and then give it up for adoption. Okay, and then what? All you fucking people that are pushing for these babies to be born, are you in line to fucking adopt that child?
Nope.
No, you're not. So shut the fuck up and let these people live their own lives. Stay in your own fucking lane. Sorry.
No, I totally agree 100%. It just,
yeah.
It boils my skin to no end because, I don't I don't feel like that. I'm definitely a pro-choice person, and it's your body and whatever you feel like you need to do and make that choice for yourself, then that's what you do.
Yep. And I understand there are people that, people will say, well, you shouldn't be able to use it as a means of birth control. Well, okay, whatever. I understand that there are some people out there that have had multiple abortions. And yeah, you know, in all likelihood, they could have or should have been a little bit more cautious or, use protection or whatever. But who knows what the fuck happened? Who knows what the fuck happened? And at what point does it become your business? It
Right.
never does. It is not your business. So, yeah, let them eat the cake. Let them use the fucking vape. Let them take their own way out if that's what they so choose. Let them
Right?
keep their hairy fucking legs. It's none of your business.
Right. It's none of your business.
Well,
It's their choice. It's what they want to do. And we should not have control over what other people say or
no.
what other people do.
And at the
To
end
a
of the
point.
day, how does it affect you anyway? So you have to look at it. Big
Right.
deal. Big fucking deal. Look away.
And if it makes you uncomfortable, don't be in that space.
Right.
Go
Exactly.
somewhere else. Do something else.
Yeah, I mean, and this poor girl, she stays in the basement most of the time. And I don't blame her. Why would she want to come up feeling like she can't be herself? Yes, she comes up to maybe have a meal or something, but the fact that she has to put pants on to come up the stairs is it's just
It's
ludicrous.
ridiculous.
It's ludicrous. I just ugh. Yeah, it drives me nuts. Absolutely. When I heard that, I was just I yeah, I was definitely feeling some kind of way, and I thought, you know what, this is definitely the right next thing to talk about because I think people need to, like I said, stay in their own lane.
Yep.
Wake the fuck up, people.
Wake the fuck up.
Yeah, so I'm gonna apologize because I know that this was definitely not PC, and I am very passionate about this topic, and I know that I can be a little Im- extra impassioned when it comes to a conversation like this, but I just felt it needed to be said, so there it is. So thanks for joining us, and I would really love some feedback on this one, especially if you're somebody that doesn't think this way. I would love to hear your. I would love
In
to
a
hear
healthy
your.
manner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Like, if you're gonna be a keyboard warrior, like, healthy. Like, let's have a discussion about it.
for sure, for sure. So yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. As always, we are grateful for you being here with us and listening in, and hopefully you
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah, and hopefully you get something out of it. So join us again next week as we continue to wake the fuck up.